Hey, what's up guys, Riff here. So it's March 12th, which of course means the official release of 1348X Voto, a release date I'm sure most of you had written down in your calendars because you were so excited to see this indie game finally be released. Now, if you know the full story behind this game and its development team and the reception on social media, you know this game has modern audience written all over it. It begins with the plot summary. Basically, this takes place in a medieval setting where the main protagonist is a lesbian knight out there with the goal of saving her female lover. It checks all the progressive boxes. It also has a social media team that is doing what a lot of indie social media teams do these days, and that is anger everybody by openly admitting they want to pander to a modern agenda. They also had a bunch of activists on social media and games journalists propping up this game and even making the claims that it was going to prove all of the chuds, all of the haters wrong when it was officially released. Well, did they prove anyone wrong? Absolutely not. This game instantly flopped and fell on its face with only a couple hundred people actually showing up for the official release. And if you look at the Metacritic score as well, it is abysmal. Not even games journalists are going to pretend to like this anymore. This was a game that pandered to the modern audience, and that's exactly what it got. The modern audience, the people who don't actually support anything they pretend to care about on social media. Now, this game, from its inception, has been an absolute disaster, and a lot of this sort of controversy surrounding this game is thanks to their official account on Twitter that has said some really dumb things. Okay, despite reaching 100,000 count of their wish list, according to them, because you can't see these sorts of data points on Steam, there's really no basis for this number because there is only a few thousand people actually following the Steam account in the first place. So this 100,000 wish list number is already very suspect, and people were seeing this as a massive win for their team. And this was a sign that the official release was going to prove everyone wrong. Well, the writing was on the wall all along. The story trailer that was released about a month ago had a sterling 3,900 likes versus 19,000 dislikes. And the only thing journalists could say about this game, the only praise they could give it, was the fact that it had LGBT themes to it. In fact, here is an article from The Gamer saying 1348X Voto's lesbian knight is the shakeup the medieval genre needs. Is it now? Will that actually transcend over into people playing the game? Well, as you already know, the answer is absolutely not. But also, in the final days of their promotion for this game, some of the people behind the game and the voices of the characters came out. And the only thing they could really say about the game is how amazing it is that there is a lesbian main protagonist, and the fact that apparently bowl haircuts are actually really, really attractive, and anyone who dislikes a bowl haircut on a woman is crazy. Well, the demo comes out, free to play of course, and it only peaked at 167 players. Now, any sane human being saw this and immediately thought, wow, this is a disaster, but people were still coping on social media saying, it's just a demo, that doesn't mean anything. Well, looking at the team on social media, they've done everything in their power to make sure this game failed. Back in January, when asked the question, why do devs keep making intentionally unattractive female characters, the official account for 1348X Voto said, why do you expect a woman to necessarily be attractive? Wow, so they're going with the modern audience approach, which represents a minute fraction of potential customers, and that's how you end up with a female main protagonist looking like this. An absolute terrible choice. Now, to make this even worse, and it's kind of a self-created problem, as I'll explain, around this time, Knight's Path, another indie action RPG that is set in a medieval setting, was promoting itself on social media. Now, people are going to naturally compare these games just because they had a similar genre shared between them, but Knight's Path looks really promising, and the story is much more of that which you would expect from a medieval setting. And unlike 1348, they are promoting characters, in particular female characters, that are appealing designs. Now, of course, people saw this representation of this female character and were calling it like gooner bait and disgusting and unrealistic and all these things. But of course, people would ask the question, I hope you all have some LGBTQ representation in this game, where the team over at Knight's Path said, we care about gaming and fun, not modern agendas, which scored them a lot of points with your average gamer and made the activists seethe in rage, where people like this said, glazing the dude bros is never a good idea. They will hype you up on here, but they will never buy your product. Meanwhile, queer people are the ones who make fan art / fanfics, which keep your fandom alive and actually buy and support your products. Such a dumb hill to die on. This post would be 100% on the money if this was opposite day. Everything this person is describing is the modern audience. This is everything that 1348 was pushing for with their game, and they got exactly what they asked for. But this is where 1348X Voto made a gigantic mistake. They decided to directly confront and compare themselves with Knight's Path by saying, don't forget to wishlist and note the release date on your modern agenda. A clear jab at Knight's Path's team, and that is a mistake. Because this game, unlike 1348, is very well liked and very well received. The trailer of which released around the same time as 1348, and instead of getting dislike bombs, it got 42,000 likes versus 556 dislikes. Yeah, I think we all know who is looking better in the end here. Then, we fast forward to March 12th, the official release date of 1348X Voto. Now, we have the question here. Today's the day to see if the modern audience actually supports things made for them, or if it's a big virtue signal, as always. Well, ladies and gentlemen, you already know the answer. Right now, it's sitting at 387 in-game players. An absolute disaster. And the reviews, by the way, are atrocious. The Steam reviews, the Steam ratings that is, below 50%. Not good. And to address the copium already, see this little flame right here? People will see that this game is trending on Steam with a little flame next to it. All that means is that it's currently on its 24-hour peak player count, which of course it's going to have that in the first day it's released. So that means absolutely nothing. And then you look at the chart here, it's already fallen off. It peaked at 427 players, and it's already starting to decrease by the hour. It peaked at 427 players. You get exactly what you deserve when you pander to the modern audience. You get the modern audience who does not actually support anything they talk about on social media. Instead, they just virtue signal for attention and brownie points on social media. Now, interestingly, on the release day, the official account for this game came out and said, this day is even more special to us because we have reached 250,000 wish lists. I'm going to call foul here. This seems very hard to believe, ladies and gentlemen. 250,000, they had 100,000 about 2 months ago, less than 2 months ago. And based on everything we can see, right, this is not a number that is shown on Steam. This is private data, so only the developers know the real number. But if you look around, nothing really makes sense because there's only about 12,000 people following this game on Steam in the first place, and yet it has 250,000 wish lists. The demo came out and only got about 100 plus players on it, and yet somehow during that time, between the demo and release, it basically doubled or more than doubled its wishlist total. Like, this stuff doesn't make any sense. And how does 250,000 wish lists end up with a peak player count of about 427? That's insane. But the comments are ripping this apart. I'm playing your game for views and not in the good way. You did this to yourself. Now if only those wishlisters actually bought it. And people just posting memes as well saying High Guard died. So 1348X Voto could fly, which by the way, High Guard is officially shut down. Congratulations, you earned every single one of those sales. When's the next one coming out? Shouldn't bot your wish list, and you shouldn't attack other games. You've lost millions for a modern audience that doesn't play games, and the quotes are not much better. This person's saying, happy modern agenda release day to those who celebrate. Let's see some of those people. Here's someone from the modern audience. Today is Medieval Lesbians Day. Yup, this is the modern audience right here. I'm glad you chose a focus on people like this instead of probably the remaining 99% of potential customers of this game. Here's another modern audience user saying, all the haters in the replies, watch me hit 400 hours on this quote-unquote woke game. Well, best of luck to you. I hope to see you as the one remaining player on SteamDB in about a month when this game is probably getting ready to shut down. We have Smash JT saying, really excited about the content we will be able to make out of this. Exactly. There's nothing more worth your time in scenarios like this than making content out of crappy games like this that appeal to the modern audience. 250,000 Steam wishlist for 1348X Voto, and a peak on launch day so far 407 players. Your vapid, passive-aggressive attack on Knight's Path did nothing but earn you virtue points with people who don't buy video games. Congratulations, you reap what you sow. Now, I said there was also the Metacritic ratings, and they're also abysmal. A total average of 53, which is pretty shocking for this game that was trying to check all of the progressive boxes. Even Games Radar, one of the higher ratings at 60, says it starts with a wealth of potential and unfortunately manages to squander it at every turn, creating a hollow, rage-inducing, and disappointing experience, with its beautiful depiction of Italy and talented performers being its only saving graces. Tech Radar Gaming with a 60. 55 from multiplayer.it saying quotation forthcoming. Can't wait for that. IGN Italia with a 50. Game Reactor UK with a 50. And even The Gamer with a 50. If The Gamer is giving you a 50 after literally making fluff pieces about this game and how stunning and brave it was, you know you really messed up. Now, hopefully users like this will show up for 1348X Voto. I had to share this because it's some cope about Marathon that can be applied to many different games that we talk about. This person said, people will spend $40 to DoorDash some food 1 mile away from them, but making the decision to buy a $40 game that people spent years making is fun and corporations put millions of dollars into is too much. It doesn't make sense to me. Also, before people jump me, I constantly see this narrative that Marathon isn't worth $40, which is just illogical, as most people, especially in the United States, waste money constantly. Ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce to you the consumer who just says, shut up and consume. Consume the slop. Spend $40 on it. I mean, of course, the studio spent a lot of time making it and corporations put millions of dollars into it. You have to buy it because you spend money on other frivolous things. That is one of the weakest arguments I've ever seen. Like, literally, why are you running defense for these massive corporations? Just because they spent a lot of time and money making it means you're, I guess, emotionally captured and you have to spend $40 on a game like Marathon or money on a game like 1348X Voto. Like, this is absolutely cooked. And yes, someone spending money on frivolous things does not require them to spend it on other frivolous things like Marathon, for example. That is illogical. But here's a good summation of everything we've been talking about today with 1348X Voto. So, the Lesbian Knight medieval action combat game 1348X Voto launched today with only around 400 players. Did anyone expect any different? Ugly characters, terrible combat, janky combat, or terrible story, janky combat, horrible animation, full-on modern agenda, probably one of the worst games to release this year, and it's dead on arrival. Yes, that face is supposed to be the face of a woman. As usual, the modern audience didn't show up to play the game. A very good summary, but do you know who's going to have an audience? Knight's Path, who just crossed, by the way, 300,000 wish lists on Steam, and given the much larger level of support for their trailer, I believe this number of wish lists, and I think this game is going to do really well because it is not pandering to a modern audience or modern agenda. It is trying to give a good experience for what the vast majority of gamers actually want for a game set in a medieval setting. I think this game is going to do really well, and once again will prove all the activists on social media wrong for the millionth time. But anyways, that's going to do it for today's video. As always, feel free to share your thoughts about today's topics in the comment section down below. Hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see you next time.